In this video, we'll look at a simple yet very beneficial exercise on the guitar. The exercise uses a pattern based on octave shapes, following up and down the chromatic scale in the first position of the guitar. That is to say, using the first 4 frets as well as the open strings. So quickly, here's the chromatic scale. For this particular exercise, we'll go up a major third over that octave. So we'll go from the low E up to the first fret on the G string to the G sharp. Okay, so what's beneficial about this, as well as difficult, is that it incorporates all of the octave shapes, or most of the octave shapes that you can play on the guitar. Okay, so the standard way of playing an octave on the guitar, and obviously, you know, if you play the open string and then play the fretted note 12 frets higher, that's an octave, right? But to play the interval of an octave, the 2 notes at the same time, the standard approach is to play 2 strings over and 2 frets up. So if I'm playing an A on the low E string, I would play 2 strings over on the D string and 2 frets up. So from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, there's my octave. Likewise, from the A string, it's the same shape. Then when I move over to the D string, I have to move 1 fret up. So I'd be playing the 5th fret on the D string and then the 8th fret over on the B string. And then that shape is continued again on the next string, playing the 5th fret on the G string and the 8th fret on the high E string. Okay, but of course that's not the only way to play an octave. Those aren't the only 2 shapes. So I can also play 3 strings over and 3 frets down from the E to the G string, which is of course enharmonic, or the same as. From the A string, I can play 3 strings over and just 2 frets down, so playing a D on the 5th fret of the A string and playing a D on the 3rd fret of the B string. And then likewise, I can play the same pattern over from the D string to the high E string, 5th fret and the 3rd fret, respectively. The first note will be the open E, the low E string. The octave above that is the 2nd fret on the D string, which is the equivalent of that first shape we looked at, 2 strings over and 2 frets up. So what we want to do with this exercise is maintain the fingering of a chromatic scale, just a simple open 1, 2, 3, 4, open 1, 2, 3, 4, open 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. as it applies, while adding a octave on top of that. So it's a good workout for the fingers, a good stretch, as you'll see. So again, the first octave, straightforward. We then move that shape up, but we're using the first finger and the 3rd finger. The next movement up is the 2nd and 4th finger. Okay, and then when we get to this G, rather than maintaining this shape, we'll incorporate the open G string, which fits nicely. The next movement up after that, the G sharp, we can play this spread, the 3 strings over and 3 frets down. Now the next note up will be an A, so we'll play the open A string, and then with the 2nd finger, we'll play the octave above that. Okay? Then we can go back to that. Then we'll have the first finger playing the A sharp, and then the 3rd finger, 2 frets over, or 2 strings over, 2 frets up, then up 1 more fret again, 2nd finger, 4th finger, okay? The next note up, we can't incorporate an open string, but we can incorporate the 1st fret on the B string, the C, at the same time as the 3rd fret on the A string, the low C. Okay? And then we take that shape up again, but with the 4th finger here, 2nd finger on the B string. Next note up, the D, we can incorporate the open D string with the 3rd finger on the B string playing the high D. Then we move to the next shape up, playing a D sharp, the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the D string, 4th finger playing the 4th fret on the B string. The next note up, the E, can be played with the 2nd finger here, again following that stepwise pattern, and the open E string. The next note, the F, is played with the 1st finger on the high E, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the D string. We move that shape up. Then we come to the G, so we can play the open G string, and the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the high E string, playing that G. And we'll do 1 more, the G sharp, which is 1st finger on the 1st finger on the G string, playing a G sharp, and the 4th finger on the 4th fret of the high E string, playing that G sharp. Okay, and then we move back down. Now, the way to keep this organized in our heads is to remember that we are just following that 1, 2, 3, or open 1, 2, 3, 4, open 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back down the same pattern. And if you worry about getting the fingering right for that, and you make that the focus, it's easier to see where your other finger will land to play that higher octave above it. Okay, so let's move back down now from that G sharp. So G sharp, and then you can try going up a little more quickly. Okay, now you can start to incorporate other techniques into this as well. So say, for example, just alternating between your bass and that higher octave. So or using a pick, which is great to help you with alternate picking as well as string skipping with your picking. So and then, of course, you can do any variations you want. So if you want to do 2 and 2, and the important thing to keep in mind with this is that it's not a competition. It's not a matter of, how fast can you play it? It's a matter of, can you play it accurately, or how accurately can you play it? And does it improve your playing, right? So can you get your fingers where they need to be accurately? And can you get the sound and tone that you want of the instrument while you play it? So again, it's a very basic exercise, and yet it is complex at the same time, especially if you try to maintain a nice, smooth and steady flow through the pattern. So this exercise is I find particularly useful when switching between guitars. So for example, switching from the Strat over to my classical or over to a steel string acoustic. More so the classical, where you have a difference in the width of the fretboard and a difference in the spacing between the strings. This allows you to sort of reacquaint yourself with that difference in spacing. And you're doing so by covering all of the strings using all of your fingers fairly quickly. The other way that it can be useful is as a sort of a mnemonic device to help you remember what all of those variations are of the octaves. The important things to keep in mind while playing this are go slowly. That's probably the most important. Go slowly and focus on the accuracy of your second finger, especially once you start to move to the more widely shaped octaves, when they're being played with your fourth finger and second finger, for example, like that, the C sharp. With a regular plectrum, using variations of, say, 2 or 3. And again, the possibilities are endless. But what's most important about this is that you're gaining something from it. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope what you can take away from this is an exercise that you can incorporate maybe into a daily schedule, or, as I said, when you're switching between guitars to quickly reacquaint yourself. Or if you're just beginning to learn about the fretboard and where all of the notes are and how you can play different scales. Those octave shapes, again, they're the bookends for diatonic scales. They're the bookends for looking at the modes and really beginning to break down the arrangement of notes on the fretboard. So it's a great exercise for that. And I thought it would be worth sharing with you. So thank you for watching. If you find this helpful, please click like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.